What's up, everyone? This is the real Theo Harvey and Mr. Benja back at you again for another show versus business. This one, these woke bros don't want representation is real. We're going to talk about what's happening right now in Hollywood, mandating changes and inclusion. Is that something that we want? Mr. Benja, what are your thoughts?
There's good, there's bad, there's weird, there's boring. And you know what? We kind of covered it all. A lot of this came from the Oscars seeming to fight back against the whole Oscars so white thing from several years ago. Now they've got this thing that a checklist where you say if you don't check these boxes off, you cannot have the best picture. So we just get into talking about what this means, what this kind of mandate, what this kind of influence means on the industry and art. We actually don't mention Kanye West in this one, so some of you might be happy about that.
Oh man, spoiler alert. So yeah, guys, look, we do also our awesome comic corner. We're gonna talk a little bit about Arcane season 2. Some of y'all had some comments about that, Mr. Benja, addressing your concerns on this episode.
Do I?
And we talk a little bit about Snow White, the issues there, what's happening there, and also a little bit March Madness and the greatest city on the world, New York City, and why is it so great. So we have a jam-packed episode. Super excited to go over this with you guys. As always, please like, subscribe, comment on our show every time you watch it, and share with your friends. So, Mr. Benja, you ready?
All right, man, let's do this.
Let's go. This is Show versus Business, where pop culture meets pop money with your host, the real Theo Harvey and Mr. Benja. So, Mr. Benja, how was your week?
Oh man, week was actually good, man. And I think the more I become detached from society and humanity, the better I feel. So this is really weird. And I'm just going in on my Alex Hormozy plus One Piece inspiration motivation trip. And Hormozy was just like, hey man, you get in there and do the work. And people say, come out to play with us. And he's like, no. And I'm like, wow, I am feeling that. So yes, I'm even further embracing this crazy introversion to do writer stuff and all that. It's great.
I love it, man. You in your mode, man. What they call monk mode? Is that what they say?
Monk mode,
yeah. You're just in there and trying to make it happen, brother. I love it, man, for you.
And this diverse little cast around me, this is actually more people than I've been around in like a month now. And it's very diverse. You see, you got your, the Asian guy. There's a dark skinned guy with his eyes closed. This guy might be European of some sort. And just a little background of what's going on behind me, in case you were wondering.
Oh yeah. We'll get into that. Representation, does it really even matter? Do we care?
Inside an empty theater. Yes.
I love it. Oh man. So I got back from NYC.
Nice.
New York,
son.
Let's do it. It's up to you, New York. Anyway, so it was a bunch of stuff we did, man. We did the Empire State Building. We went to Ellis Island, saw the Liberty Island, saw the Statue of Liberty. Went to 9/11 Memorial. That was deep. Saw the Brooklyn Bridge. What else did we do? Saw some plays. New York, man. I had a hot take, man. I was just walking the mean streets of New York, from Wall Street to Brooklyn to Queens. Just kind of getting the vibe.
You walking solo?
You know what? No, with the family, of course.
Okay.
Just trying to get around and stuff. But it's like everything is just so close by and never shuts down. You meet everybody from all across the world. So many different nationalities. I'm sitting at the Starbucks right from our hotel, and I don't know who's gonna walk in the door, right? It could be different nationality comes in, different person, different language. I like, what? I think the New York was the internet before the internet. That was my hot take, man. It was just
so instead of sending the email, you just like stick your head out the window. Hey yo, I heard Bobby went to the hospital. Was that like
exactly? Well, I was talking to my family, when I had this epiphany walking the streets. I was like, it's like you live there, you got a guy, right? You're like, oh, I got to get some cleaners done at 12 o'clock. Who do I know? And then you got this other guy that knows a guy, and it's all in the city, man, because the city never sleeps. There's someone that does what you're looking for. just like the internet. You're looking for someone who can, you go to a chat room or try to find someone who can give you something what you need. We're big. Was it Dr. Benjamin Hardy? He talks about like having partnerships. I mean, you can find literally partnerships in the streets anywhere in New York if you find the right person.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, wow, man. But the challenge with New York is, and just another epiphany I just had just now is, it makes you seem so insignificant too, because the internet, you feel like you're kind of like, oh, I control everything. You just don't know how big it is because you're in your own little world and you control that. But once you're in New York, you're like, there's so many people here, so many places, so busy. I'm very insignificant right now. I'm just one person in the city of 7 million.
One of the times I was in New York, I ended up at an intersection. I ended up taking a lap, like in a clockwise direction, instead of just going to the left like I wanted to. There was like a crowd of people moving, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm supposed to take a left here," but the crowd kept moving. And I started to like cut through the crowd, and I'm not a punk or anything, but the crowd was moving, dog, and everybody was like, "Come on now, I gotta get." Cars are honking, and I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm just gonna walk across the street anyway," and walk right back. So I get to the other side of the street, and the walk sign for the right side of the street goes, and I'm at the very corner, like about to fall into the street. So I'm like, God dog it. Well, let me see what's over here. And I was just so much literally in the flow of things that I just decided to walk around all four corners of the block before going left like I meant to in the first place.
Wow.
But
you went all the way out your way.
I had a fun trip, dog. It was great. Glorious walking with the New Yorkers. I got yelled at once and yelled back at somebody once. It was great. Just fun times.
Did you stay in New York any length of time, or was it just visiting always for you as well?
I've only been in New York for, I'll say, 2 weeks at a time.
Oh, okay. So with family or just hanging out and doing something?
No. When I was doing work for Rockstar Table Tennis, we were out there for a while.
Oh, okay.
That's where we did our motion capture. That's where I met Marlo from The Wire, a couple others. Yeah. So
okay.
I was out there. We hung out for a little bit, and it took some time.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times for work, and and even as an entrepreneur, we had some customers up there in near Queens, and so I would go visit folks. But yeah, this is the first time I kind of did I think it's been 20 years. Remember our old roommate Zach? Shout out Zach Jamat.
Zach, boy.
Zach Hot Wings Zamat.
Butter wings. Get at me.
He's the only one. Just start getting that big old pot, throw some frozen wings in there, and just get the wings up.
I'm making butter wings. All right, dog.
Do you, bro? Anyway, I went to go visit him. I think everybody had graduated. You all graduated like in 4 years. I was the slacker. I stayed around for extra years. So I think where everybody was gone working, I went to start visiting folks, and I went to go see him, stay with him, and then kind of walk the streets of New York. And it was just fascinating, man, just, being so big and all different places I went to. And then I think at that time I was able to get into the crown of the Statue of Liberty. You can't do that as much anymore. I think there's some restrictions there now. But I did have a good time, man, with the kids and just, that whole experience. And I'm glad they kind of got to experience that. One of the things I do want to bring up is just Broadway plays. Are you a big play person, Mr. Benja? Watching plays, going to them?
So I grew up, my mother sang opera, and she was a professor of voice. So I grew up with a lot of that, went to a lot of it when I was younger. Then it fell off for me. But the last thing I saw was Wicked. I saw that at the Pantages Theater. So.
Okay, so do you remember, was it the original cast, who played the original characters?
It wasn't this newer one. It was the one from last time they did the Wicked run without the movie influence.
Okay, so you knew about the story and all that. Yeah, which I never knew until I saw the movie. I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. Just like so anyway, so we had the chance to go see my kids, me and my wife, like almost 10 years ago. My son was first born. He's 9 now. We went on a whim. I said, let's just take a weekend. He's just born a month after he was born. Let's just go to New York. And I heard this play was amazing. People were talking about it. I said, let's go see this little play called Hamilton. So I bought, I on a whim just went up there and I was amazed. I had to buy actually 4 tickets
Yeah.
because they were all together. So I was like, crap, I spent all this money for these tickets. I'll just scalp them when I get there, right? So I'm over here. I never seen the play before, right? So I'm
Yeah.
over here, this young girl.
Wait, you said a play like on this level?
Yeah. I never went to a Broadway play. That was my first
Okay.
Broadway play,
Okay.
right? So, but I heard Hamilton was a play to go see. So me and the missus, flew up there for like the weekend just to hang out in Times Square. And I had to sell my 2 other tickets, right? Because it was just me and my wife. So I had 4 tickets. So
Yeah.
I'm over here trying to figure out how I'm going to scalp these 2 tickets. This is, Ticketmaster was around, and what's the other one? Uh, yeah, they have all kinds of scalpers now, but it
Yeah.
wasn't as big as it was back then, like what 10 years ago. So anyway, I'm on the streets, and this young girl, she's like, "I need tickets. I'm trying to see Hamilton." Ooh, she's doing the sob story, and she's like, "Well," I said, "Well, how much you got?" Because the ticket price, I think it was like $150. She said,
Mhm.
"Well, all I have is my birthday money, and it's on this card. You can have the card. I swear it's only $50 on the card, but you can have what I got." I said, "Okay, come on." And so I gave her and my tickets for like $100, even though it cost me probably 300. So I went, sit the play. I started watching it, and at the intermission, I turned to her. I said, "I should charge you way more for those tickets." It was that play was that phenomenal. I was like, "This is." I just said, "No way! I should have sold these for way more," because that was like my first experience. I was like, "This thing is amazing."
Yeah. Dang, now I want to go see it.
Yeah, so the kids went to go see the play, not with the original cast that me and my wife did, 10 years ago, but they saw the play and they had a good time with their mother, with their grandmother, my mother-in-law, and they actually, waited around, did that whole thing where you do with
Yeah.
Broadway
Yeah.
plays, and had the actors come out, make them sign their playbook, and got some pictures of some of the actors. So that was cool. Only in New York, man. It's
So
just like,
it kept them entertained. They were like
oh well, they
engaged.
knew. Well, every young Gen Zer, kid, they know Hamilton. You know that. So
Mhm.
all of them, they knew every song. They couldn't sing it, right? Because this, just a theater. You can't sing in a theater. But they were super happy to see it. And then me and my wife, we saw. So now this whole thing they call like jukebox musicals. Have you heard that term before?
No, I haven't.
You remember that movie Mamma Mia back in the day, and
Yes.
it started in play. It was based on the music of ABBA. So, you can dance, you can, it's all that
Yeah.
crap, right? Have the time of your life. So they created a Broadway musical, based on their songbook, right? And that was phenomenal. Made a lot of money. The movie
Yeah.
made a lot of money. They're doing the same thing with MJ, the Michael Jackson play, and it's like basically a jukebox where they're playing his hits in the
Okay.
Broadway form. So Alicia Keys does the same thing with this play called Hell's Kitchen, which is basically about a young girl growing up in Hell's Kitchen and who loves playing piano, right? And so
Yeah.
obviously thinly veiled spoiler alert, it's her, right?
Oh no! Why'd you say that?
But yeah, sorry. But it's funny because if you know Alicia Keys songs, which she's been around for
Yeah.
like 20 years now, it's kind of interesting because they change the songs just enough, and then they try to sneak them in there, so you don't know when they're gonna show up. So you're sitting there listening to play. Next thing you know, I keep on falling. You're like, oh, there it is. And so they try to switch it up a little bit. True story. The lady who played her mother in it, named the character named Jersey, she was actually Elphaba on Broadway in Wicked. The witch in the green.
Mhm.
The has that big solo at the end.
Yeah.
So she could sing. She came out there and started singing her song that Alicia Keys gave for the mother. It was amazing. I mean, she did this one riff where so it's kind of seemed like to me because I'm sitting here in the stage. I mean, with the folks
Mhm.
talking to people left, and you get very close to people, right? You start
Yeah.
talking to
Yeah.
people. One person from Dallas, other people from Boston. They're just like, hey, we're just tourists. We're here to just watch this play. So you get the sense that, like, I guess the cast knows this, and so sometimes they play to the audience a little bit because they're like, oh, these
Okay.
out of towners. Let me go ahead and sing a little bit extra. Put a little stank on it. Because these
Yeah. Yeah.
crowds they're not New Yorkers. They're from Dallas. Let's wow them with what we can do. And so they'll put a little stink on it. When she was singing, I was like, oh, she's just trying to show out.
Nice,
so
nice.
so anyway, make a long story short, phenomenal time, man. Just being in that city.
Huh.
Like I was telling you before the pod, Mr. Benja, I think that
Hmm.
energy, that creative energy, and being around so many people.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I kind of wish I did that in my 20s. I mean, now in your late 40s, you're kind of like, I don't know if I want all that. But in your 20s, man, that's a perfect place to be, man, because you just, I could do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Nah,
so
I'm thinking, I could go there in 5 years or whatever and just hang out.
yeah. You could tell the city has changed after the pandemic and COVID because you hear a lot of stories. It was a ghost town,
Yeah.
5 years ago,
Mhm.
like, and that's crazy. If you go to New York and you see all the people walking, all the action, can you imagine that city just shutting down like that? That's just
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't even imagine what that was like for folks. So and I was talking to one of our guides. He was saying how during the pandemic people walk to the Brooklyn Bridge and go out there to get haircuts. So you see people out there during the pandemic getting haircuts on the bridge because you could
Hmm.
walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, and
Yeah, yeah.
so I thought that was kind of interesting. So stories like that, man, just come out, man, when you realize, man, this is and I've been to all these different cities, traveled a lot. I know you've traveled a lot. It's just every city's got its own little flavor, and New York is such a unique flavor, man, and such unique people. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, man. So I was okay. So when I was there, I was hanging around Soho and the Lower East Side. Those are the areas I was hanging out at. And the amazing thing to me that I get nowhere else is being able to just walk around and ask people or look at posts on in windows or on bulletin boards, like actual bulletin boards, not like the computerized bulletin boards. Just walk around and kind of find stuff going on. That kind of blew my mind. Like I walked in a Prada store, wasn't planning on buying, not Prada. I walked in the Louis Vuitton store, wasn't going to buy anything, and I just started talking. And they're like, "Yeah, this art show is going." Boom, I'm on it. An art show recommended by somebody shopping in a Louis Vuitton store. It's got to be something, right? So
Yeah,
I walked there, started talking to those people. Hey, what's happening with, there's a blah blah blah. This whole taste testing. The chef is trying out some new flavors, and he just wants random people to show up. Yeah, you can totally go up to the door. It looks like they're gonna charge you, but you can just walk in. I'm like, cool. I did that one entire night. Just walked around and kept asking people, "Where's the next thing?" And I think I had to take a cab ride twice, just because I didn't feel like walking. But for the most part, everything was pretty much just like 1 block or 2 blocks away. It was
yeah.
that packed with stuff. So I just love that. Can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah, you're right, man. Just because you'll look at the map or trying to get to a place, oh, we're in Brooklyn. How we get to Times Square? It's only 2 miles, but 2 miles is many blocks, many people, and
Yeah,
so it'll take you about 30 minutes in the ride, right? A car, but you're right. It's like every block is like even walking downtown Brooklyn, man. You could just one minute I'm on Juniors and this big old street, next minute I'm down a corner and there's all these restaurants. Next minute it's like highfalutin area. So it's just
yeah,
like everything's just like on top of each other. It's kind of weird. The blocks are like, different whole worlds and communities in each block. So I do. You're right. There's nothing. I mean, we're back here in Florida. I mean, like, I'm like, shit. We go 2 miles. We may hit a Publix. you know,
yes.
so that's the only thing in New York, man. So yeah, man, super super hype. Yeah, we'll talk more about some interesting things. And one thing's, a couple other things I did just to kind of give you a highlight. March Madness basketball is back, so I'm a big basketball person. Sports. My bracket is always busted. Mr. Benji, have you ever done a bracket for March Madness? You know what that is, right?
I know March Madness, and I know you start doing the whole bracket. You get down to the Final Four, and everybody loses their ish. You know, um, Even Barack Obama was doing the brackets.
That's right.
So yeah, I know about the brackets, but it's that's actually very entertaining to me watching other people get into their brackets and argue like
Oh yeah.
who's doing what and why it's happening this way. And yeah, never got it.
College basketball, yeah. College basketball is so much different now. I mean, Mr. Benji, if you now they have what they call NIL money, name, image, and likeness money. So kids are coming
Right.
in, they're getting like millions of dollars if they're like top prospect. And so basically, you know, remember back in the day, oh, amateurs, yay, good for you. You're playing for the love of
Yeah.
the game. Nah, man, these cats are millionaires, man, even in college at this point. So that's changed the game.
Mm.
And then also you have this transfer protocol thing where basically any college player, no matter what program, he can leave at any time. So basically, if you have a terrible program, this is
Yeah.
what happened to Kentucky. One of the you probably heard of Kentucky is like top one of the
Yeah.
top, you know. So the coach there, Calipari, he left like last year out of blue, and all these players said, "I'm gone too," and they all left. So Kentucky was this blue bread college team. They had no players and a new coach. So the coach had to recruit cosplayers from all over. He picked the cosplayer from New Hampshire, cosplayer from California, and created his own super team out of cosplayers. And
Yeah.
now they're, you know, in the NCAA tournament, which is unheard of. So these kids have never played together before, but they're now super teams. So it's like it's very interesting how this is all changing in real time. Gambling is a big part of this. We talked about gambling and how
Yep.
that's affected. It's a big week for Vegas. They always love March Madness because all the gambling. When I was there 2 weeks ago, March Madness signs were everywhere, gambling, you know. So yeah, man, I get into it. I enjoy the Thursday and Friday. I kind of fall off a little bit the next weekend, and I jump back in for Final Four. So maybe I'll give you a highlight on what's to come on there. But yeah, man. So it was a good weekend, man. I can't say. And then we'll talk a little bit later about the Snow White movie I saw that had a little bit of controversy.
Oh.
So we'll talk about that later.
Um. You know I think the closest Michigan State when I was there. When I was there
Yeah,
at Michigan State, that was the first taste of like that high level college basketball. And I remember, oh, what's the guy's name? I don't know. There was a black film that had just come out recently. Terrence Howard and some other people went to the basketball game, and
hmm.
of course, the stands were mobbed and everything. And I'm like, okay, this is what college level basketball can get like. And I just remember I knew a tutor, right? She was a grad student, and she broke down crying one day. And she was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I was like, what's going on? What's wrong? I said, I don't know what to do. I'm tutoring this student, and he's really bad at he's just bad. He can't do his work. It's like, so you're a tutor. I mean, you work with them and you work with them. And she was like, I have everybody. She was basically saying she had everybody in the school calling her, telling her to make sure this dude passes. and and
Or else.
yeah, where else? And she started considering all these options, like, hey, maybe I can whip up some kind of cheating rig for him. Maybe I could, you know,
Jeez.
maybe I could
Yeah.
talk to the teacher. She was just going through options and spilling things out very quickly. She wasn't seriously considering any of that. Or was she? But it was wild, man, and just that level of intensity. I love it, man. But I don't want to watch it.
Oh, these programs are big time money. I mean, just the coach alone, Mr. Benja, Calipari, to go to Arkansas, to leave Kentucky to go to Arkansas, he
Yeah.
got $8 million a
Hmm.
year just to coach a college team. On top of that, he got a budget of $5 million just to go recruit players. So basically, with the NIL, he said, "Hey, come here. I got 500,000. You want 500,000? Well, I got a
Yeah.
million for you. Come on. I got the money for you." So they
So
basically paid him $13 million,
yeah.
Mister Benja, to coach a basketball team. So if they're paying a coach and giving a budget total of $13 million, they gotta be making 5 to 10x that from advertising money,
Yeah.
recruiting, all that. So it goes to show you the pressure your tutor was under was valid.
Yeah. So real quick, what is name, image, and likeness, and why has it spawned so much of this money that we're seeing all these college athletes with?
Yeah, so basically, I think this came out of UCLA. Ed Bannon, he was a player that played for UCLA several, like almost 15, 20 years ago. But basically, there was a game called, it came out of a video game. It was a college NCAA basketball, and they used his image. And of course, millions of dollars are made from this game, being out there into the community. And he actually took it to court and said, "That's not fair. You use my image, my likeness to to give me all this money. And then to be honest with you, he wasn't a great pro either. So
Right.
that probably was another impetus. It's like, look, I'm trying to get this money. Let me get this guap, son. So they sued and say, hey, that's not fair. And then obviously the countersuit was, well, you're an amateur, what you're getting for compensation is a scholarship, right, to go to college. So they went back and forth, and finally, I think I can't remember the ruling. We'll put it in the show notes, but it happened not too long ago. Supreme Court actually ruled on this and said it was okay to pay college athletes a fair exchange, and they kind of likened it to like any kind of work study program. You remember how we had work study back in the day, Mr. Benja, at FAM and other schools where you do some BS. I had one. It was so funny. I had a work study. I was supposed to be tutoring students. I didn't even know. I thought I just got a check. I said, got the check. And they told me one time, oh, you're supposed to be tutoring these last 2 months. I was like, oh, for real? Oops.
Dang, yo. My bad.
Dang, I got this polo fit, though. This Tommy Hilfiger, though. Tallahassee at Governor Square Mall. What? Anyway, so it was a big thing. And then obviously football and college basketball are the two, biggest revenue producing, for any state, any college program. So obviously they got the lion's share of money and budgets to go after these players. Because let's be honest, before that, have you ever seen a movie called Blue Chips with Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway? Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Basically, it was about
No,
this.
I didn't.
But tons of movies like this where college coaches were literally using boosters. Boosters are people, high net worth individuals who were under the table giving kids money, giving kids Escalades. I mean, there was a rumor that LeBron James, he was driving around for Escalade when he was a junior in high school. And everybody's like, how did
Excuse
LeBron
me?
James afford that? Yes. Yeah,
Giving them
exactly.
a boost. Yeah.
A boost for a booster. So so because think about it, they want the best players, the team gets validation, the booster feels good because that's where he went to school. So anyway, yeah, man, it's this whole thing because I think is it Dan Gilbert out of Detroit? He he's big time. He did Rocket Mortgage back in the day. He went to, I want to say, Michigan State, and so he put a lot of money to that program. And obviously, he owns the Cavaliers, the
Okay.
Cleveland Cavaliers, and so he's worth $13 billion. So yeah, he's one of the big boosters there. Probably why they get some hot recruits. And Tom Izzo, he's been there since you've been in school, even before that. So he's not going anywhere. So anyway, man, yeah. Do your tutor, just to circle back around, I can understand why she felt the need to think about some other kind of scenarios here, because if that dude failed, she would have got it.
Yeah. I mean, it's no, that stuff like that is just wild, and you start to see how the machine changes internally to accommodate whatever it's trying to do. Like, hey, well, maybe they can, allow people to take their test on certain days. Maybe they can allow the test to be broken up into segments. And you start all these weird little things that just become policy. And you're like, how did that get here? And it's like, maybe it has something to do with the NCAA or boosters.
Boosters, man. I mean, it's the game, man. What's it? The system defined it that is designed to defend itself, and
The
so
system is designed to defend the system. Yeah.
yeah, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon, Mr. Benja. So, Mr. Benja, do we want to get into comment corner real quick?
Yeah, let's run through some comments right quick. I love comments from the peoples, man. If y'all got anything to say, any flames to spit, any dirt to throw, any corrections, we love the flames. That's give us all the flames, because half the time I don't know what I'm talking about. I got it from somewhere, but if you feel like flaming me, go ahead. Anyway, Black Mirror reaction. Missing Pieces says, we kind of were, before I mentioned her or his comment here, we kind of were meh, or enthused. We liked it, but it wasn't like anything mind blowing like we expected from Black Mirror. So with that in mind, Missing Pieces made this comment. The Americanized style in more recent seasons takes away from how bleak these dystopias seem, in my opinion. That's a good point. I don't know how bleak American productions are with like compared to like a British or a German version of bleak. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh damn,
Uh, well, let's be honest. I
or
mean,
Korean. Yeah,
Germany and think about their histories. Germany, with the rise of Nazis and all that, and obviously with Britain, the history is being bombed,
yeah.
during World War II, and so I'm sure they can be extremely bleak. United States, we really haven't. I mean, maybe because we're just such a spread out country, and it's just hard to kind of just traumatize a whole nation like that. But I would say, man, some of the stuff it's getting there. I mean,
Guys, we can be bleak too.
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know what your politics are, but it's looking pretty bleak right now of where we're headed. And so, Black Mirror can kind of capture that. Great. So,
All
no,
right,
but I take their point. I take their point.
cool. And we were talking about the Last of Us trailer, and ABC OQ7DT said, The Last of Us took a part of the game that implied there was a relationship between Bill and the other guy. Oh, there was that one episode where the two guys were hanging out. It's not a spoiler, but it was something in the game, and they expanded on that story into the Last of Us TV show. So he's responding here. The Last of Us took a part from the game that implied there was a relationship between Bill and this other guy, but it sort of played that you don't realize that he loved the guy without the clues, which were there. The series decided that this episode is just about a couple of gay guys being gay in the apocalypse then dying together. Bill isn't dead in the game. A couple of gay guys being gay in the apocalypse then dying together. What a synopsis.
Hey, man. Hey, well, that's life, man. I love it. Be gay
Oh man.
together, man. In the apocalypse, man. That's be who you are. Much respect. I didn't play the game, Mr. Benja, but is that
Mhm.
the case? Bill is still alive, and did they infer there was a love story between these two characters in
I
the
don't
game?
know. I
Okay.
don't know. I'm not a player of the game, but I have heard a lot of praise for how they presented this, where it's not like a thing. It's just
Yeah.
it's just the story of the show goes through the story of the show. In fact, this is a good comment because it wasn't like woke in your face or whatever, that we've been talking about recently. It was just kind of like, yeah, man, two gay guys being gay in the apocalypse.
What's wrong with that? Oh man, I love it. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting comment. I mean, we could talk about Mr. Benja. I wanted to bring this up.
Uh,
Arcane season 2.
uh,
We got some comments on that one. So if you don't know, Mr. Benja has strong emotions about Arcane season 2, and some people who commented also had some comments. So Mr. Benja, I'm going to ask some questions that come out of these comments. First, at the Exodus REX 3385 says, "What about this season that's disappointing you?" Also, I just want to combine them both. At Gaming Channel 4 says, "I mean, season 2 was not as good as season 1, but it was still great. I don't know what you didn't like about it." Mr. Benja, what didn't you like about it?
Imagine you watch all through Star Wars. Just imagine you watch all through Star Wars, right? You get the Force, you get the Skywalker saga, you get the Empire versus the Rebels. You get this little side story about the big guy versus the little guy, and then the smuggler story, Han Solo. And then at the end, just imagine, right? That you got to Return of the Jedi, and after Return of the Jedi, the next 6 movies that came afterwards were all about the Ewoks.
Why 6? That's very specific.
Yeah, it's anything after that is all about the Ewoks. So okay, you should say in the first 3 and then the prequels. We'll keep it even. Season 1 and season 2 of Arcane. Mirror that to 4, 5, and 6, and then the Ewok trilogy. And you're like, why is this about the Ewoks? No, no, no. If you really think about it, the Ewoks are nature. They're nature's force. It really was about Ewoks the entire time. And you go back and you're trying to piece together this Ewok story, and you're like, yeah, I guess maybe. Okay, I want to believe that. In Arcane, as I said, a lot of stuff happens, a lot of story threads go in and out, but when it hits season 2 and starts doing stuff, it's really hard for you to stop and piece back why that might have happened. It all makes sense. It's all there on paper. But if you were not following that particular story thread in the way that, I mean, granted, a lot of people did follow it this way, but most people really only like it because of the music, the animation, the feels it gave you. If anybody comes in here saying they were really following that story the way it was intended all the way through, and that the Black Rose makes complete sense and all that, we might have to discuss something, because I don't know, man. Ewok Christmas was all I saw when I was watching Arcane season 2.
You know, while you were talking, since I didn't see Arcane, so I was trying to think, but I get that premise where you're reading something, watching something, you know, playing the game, and you're thinking it's going this way, and then it kind of completely pulled the rug out of you. Said it was there, but it was like this one little thread. They're like, oh, this is what's really about, and now the whole next part is like about this. Like, what the hell? I didn't read this for that part. The only thing I remember, this is gonna be very obscure reference, but it was I don't think you ever read Foundation, Isaac Asimov's books, did you?
No, I started on the Apple TV show, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was okay, but you know they trying to expand upon it. But if you read it, you know back in the day, I loved it.
Okay.
Very not a lot of talking. You know, Asimov is not the greatest writer. It doesn't give you a lot of like, oh, you know, he's not like George R. Martin giving you descriptions of food and religion and stuff like that.
Right.
Straight facts. But anyway, so I read the Foundation series, great show. I mean, high level premise, 10,000 years in the future, Galactic Empire, human race is dying because one guy uses math to prevent the de-evolution of humankind so they don't, you know, fall into anarchy. And so shenanigans ensue, right? So that's pretty much the premise of it. But anyway, so I read the book is about this. Oh man, so you got this first foundation, and then now who's this second foundation? Oh, where they at? And oh man, who's this mutant called the Mule? So there's all these little storylines that you're just like, man, this is awesome. So then they get to like the last book, and it's oh, you know what? This is really the sequel to my books about robots, detectives set in early 2000s. You're like, what the hell? There's one character
Lord.
from his original series trilogy, like he did on Robot Detectives, shows up in the year 10,022, right? Because he's a robot, he lives forever. Comes to find out he's the mastermind of this whole damn thing. Sorry, spoiler alert. I'm like, what the hell?
I'm all about spoilers like that. Just give it to them. Oh, let people know what's going to happen.
So I know exactly what you mean. I'm like, I did not read this story to find out this is about a robot detective trying to save humanity. It was like, no, I read it because I want to hear a galactic empire and all this other stuff. So anyway, needless to say, man, Mr. Benja, that rug pull stories, dude. Now I'm trying to think of a story ever done that well, and I can't think of one right now where they just completely take the rug out from you, and it's there, but it's just like stupid. Maybe good plot twist. I mean, you know, like The Usual Suspect. I mean, it was there all along who Kaiser Soche was, and then at the end when they reveal who it is, you know, that's always a classic. But I can't think of any, you know, or the Sixth Sense, you know, where you find out what Bruce Willis was up to. Spoiler alert. He's one of the dead people. So anyway, so I think some twists work, but not when you create a whole new premise and now it's a whole new universe that you're going to explore for like another 20 books. Yeah, that's dumb.
Well, man, it was a slow twist, which is the funny thing, because you're like, why are we spending this much time on this character? Oh, well, I'll stick with it. And you keep on going, and the deeper you get into season 2, it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And you're just kind of sitting somewhere you weren't before. If you ever been driving with friends on the highway and the lane splits and one person goes in the off ramp and you're still on the main highway, that's what it's like. It's like, why are they over there?
Yeah.
Lost. All right, I don't want to talk about that anymore.
No, so that's why, guys. So we're moving on. Mr. Benja, what are we talking about today, man? You want to bring this up on the show notes.
So yeah, I was I was just perusing the internet. We've talked about movies before and things, and Snow White came up, and like here we are talking about stuff being woke. And by the way, props to Arcane for the way they treated all the character representation. It just flowed properly. So even props on that. Love it. Um, but it's been a topic of discussion lately, and I found a post that said the Academy is crazy. The Oscars people, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, we're doing all this stuff and we don't like them. And I was like, okay, another hater post. But they had this description of basically saying that the new requirements for getting an Oscars eligibility for the Best Picture, this post was saying that, it's a bunch of garbage. And I was about to scroll past it, but it had, let me see, I'm not going to give it dignity here because it was kind of a troll hater post, but a couple thousand retweets and everything. And I was like, okay, let me see what's going on. In short, the Oscars are saying you have to be woke to get Best Picture category. And as a woke bro, this concerned me. We can go through the bits here in a second, but Theo, had you heard about any of this?
I did not. I remember. Do you want me to get into the reason why this maybe been created with the Oscar so white controversial?
Yeah.
Or
People heard about Oscar so white, but let's give them a little refresher.
yeah. So yeah, I think in 2015 there was made notice that of all the 20 acting nominations, Best Actor, Supporting Actor, Best Actress, Supporting Actress, and others, all the nominations, the Academy Awards that year went to all white actors. So basically, no person of color at all. And that just prompted activist and writer April Rain to create the hashtag Oscar So White. So when in 2015, can you believe that was 10 years ago, literally, the hashtag went super viral, sparked widespread criticism and a public identity crisis for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which who runs the Oscars. So they responded by setting ambitious goals to diversify its membership. So a lot of these people, yes, we know the big stars in Hollywood, but there's a lot of people, with key grip. You ever watch the credits in a movie?
Yeah.
All these folks have Academy Awards. Have an option to vote for Academy Awards, and so like we would never know these people, but their own little community. And so what Hollywood they were doing was to kind of diversify the membership and adding more people, women of color, and underrepresented members by 2020, which was a good goal, right? I think more representation makes more diverse storylines, and that's probably why we were seeing interesting cast choices recently in the last several years, where we had the Little Mermaid cast, where people got upset about that, but she was cast as a black woman as opposed to the cartoon, which was not. And then we also had folks showing up in roles that you're like, oh wow, they're letting black leads show up more, that you wouldn't see that. They weren't just the sidekick or the jokey sidekick or something like that, which is a good thing.
Yes.
So I think we're in. I think that the challenge is when you start to mandate wokeness, right? Where you try to say, in some cases you have to kind of get things started, but when it becomes too stifle, I guess the concern you have is that these new regulations are too stringent on creativity. Is that what you're saying when it comes to mandating that certain people, separate underrepresented groups have to be a part of the cast, for instance, or certain groups have to they have to have paid internships from people from these groups? What are some of the things that you have concerns about with this writer?
Well, okay, so you can't just start talking to people and saying, hey, this is a major push and here's why. You always have to swing. We're in an extremist time right now, so you're gonna swing from, yes, I was part of the I was part of some crazy regime in the past known for terrible acts, and on the other side you're like, yes, we believe everybody should wake up in the morning and eat soybean cheese and sing kumbaya. There's just these weird two extremes of types of people, and it seems like a personality jumping back and forth when you're talking about companies or corporations or organizations trying to appease everybody, but they keep jumping back and forth wildly differently. So
Mhm.
to wildly different extremes. And to give you that point, in the Oscars' own words, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences representation and inclusion for the Oscars eligibility in the Best Picture category are designed to encourage equitable representation, often off screen, to better reflect the diverse global population. Cool. Submitting a confidential Academy inclusion standards form, blah, 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 and meeting 2 out of the 4 standards will be required in order for the film to be deemed eligible for the Best Picture consideration. So you need 2 of these following 4 standards to be considered for Best Picture. Standard A, on-screen representation. A film can achieve this by meeting the criteria of at least one of the following, and it says you need to include somebody's East Asian, African American, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, and there's a list. The general ensemble cast, at least 30% of actors need to be from 2 underrepresented groups. Main storyline and subject matter has to be centered on so it's like, to get the first standard of on-screen representation, you have to go through and literally kind of check these boxes. Okay, do I have enough of this? Well, if I don't have enough of this, maybe I should have more of this. And okay, well, it's too this way. Well, I can offset that by adding in some more, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, according to this. So that's one standard. Next standard, the creative leadership and the project team. A film can achieve this standard by meeting one of these. You have underrepresented groups, and at least 6 other crew team members in technical positions are from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. So, you were talking about your key grip and your best boy. It's like, hey, we got a technical position over here, the boom camera operator. Let's get in somebody from the Middle East, and we can, they're underrepresented in the key grip, arena. Standard C, industry access and opportunities. So, hey, maybe if your picture's coming out and it's not very diverse, well, then maybe you had a paid apprenticeship or internship opportunities where the cast was all of one group, and then it got diverse because of all your internship opportunities and training and skills development. And finally, audience development. And you get that by distributing to certain ethnic groups, and you may have one or more in-house senior executive or hired consultants, and so forth. So basically, you're either talking to the audience, you're making industry access and opportunities, your creative leadership is diverse, or your on-screen representation, themes, and narratives is supportive of these efforts. And I don't want to use the word diverse because that makes you think of DEI, which I support in a lot of ways, but I don't want that to get confused with what we're talking about here. This just seems very odd to me that it's codified so specifically and literally checkboxy. It's a checklist.
Mm-hmm. So you don't like it? I mean, what's the summation of it? Do you feel like it's restrictive? I mean, what is your stance here? Because I have some comments.
It seems bad. Now, how this plays out in reality could be a good thing, but I'm really leaning on the side of what the hell is this?
So, yeah, my 2 cents on this. So basically, you're just saying it's bad. So, my sense of it is like, I agree. I think it's a good thing to kind of codify stuff, but we already have an example that stuff like this never really works out. It's in football. Have you heard of a thing called the Rooney Rule?
Oh no.
Have you heard of that?
No.
So the Rooney Rule was instituted by the NFL in 2003, and it mandates that teams interview at least 2 minority candidates for a head coach, general manager, or coordinator positions. So this is something.
I thought you were about to say for the kicker.
No. This is sports. Let's be honest. Sports is a true meritocracy. I mean, if you're a good kicker, no matter what your race or nationality is, you're gonna make the team, right?
You will.
So, but as we all know, it can mess up when there's other factors involved in decision making, right? I mean, you play well no matter what. Coaching is so contingent on a lot of different things, not just, can you coach and the mind for it, but how well do you interact with the higher ups who will be hiring you, right? Can they have a beer with you, right? Do they
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
that you're a guy that can connect with? And so I say that to say is like we've seen this experience in the Rooney Rule where, let's be honest, it started in 2003. Number of black coaches has gone up, but I got to look at the numbers. But statistically, I don't think there's been significant changes in that last what 22 years or so since this rule was enacted. And so it goes to show you that you can mandate wokeness, but doesn't mean people are going to follow it. They'll find loopholes. Yeah, they may bring in a black guy to interview, right? But because are they going to hire him? No.
Yeah.
How many coordinators? And if you don't know, coordinators are like just below the head coach that they bring in to kind of interview for the head coach position just to meet that mandate.
Yeah.
So I would agree, it when you mandate wokeness, it does get some pushback and people look for loopholes and use all their creativity to create stories, that get around that mandate. Now I would say, my other point to this is, so I think we're in agreement on that, but I would disagree in that we talked about this. Creativity loves structure. And so the more structure you put around it, it can enhance creativity to help creators create more inclusive storytelling. Like, for instance, there's a show called The White Lotus, and they film it in Thailand, as a murder mystery, it's all this other stuff.
Right.
So yes, they have a lot of white characters, but since they film it in Thailand, they actually have a couple of characters that meet this mandate, right? They're from Thailand, right there. And so I say is, if you are thinking of storytelling, then why don't you create environments that naturally precludes you to have more inclusivity, right? If you're going to, if you film in Brooklyn, for instance, you have to make it more inclusive because you're not just going to have all white males, right? So that's all I'm saying. You can enhance creativity when you put more structure and mandates around things.
Yeah. So, okay, like I haven't seen Yellowstone, or I haven't seen a lot of these. I mean, there's like Yellowstone. I'll just take that as an example. When I first think about that, I don't even know if it's supposed to be diverse or around.
It's not. I've seen it.
Yeah, and I start to wonder.
Well, even that, be honest with you, there's indigenous people, right?
That's what I'm wondering about. The indigenous crowds, and yeah, they run up against that, but it seems like it's definitely marketed to not that group. It just feels weird to me. I don't want to harp on the Oscars in particular, but that this mandate they've put, and we'll have a link to it in the notes. I don't know if that works. And it also, one thing you didn't mention that I wanted to throw in there was that it could build animosity. Because if there's like a certain way that the idea was conceived, or a certain way things were brought about, what happens when all of a sudden it's like, yeah, guys, we were going to go with that, but we're going to bring in these other people instead. And I don't want to sound like diversity is a bad thing, but I know this swings the other way as well, where it's like, hey, I'm going to do an all black presentation, and suddenly it's like, hey, you can't do that. And people get mad, and all of a sudden it's like, why not? And it's coming from the other side where it's definitely not the same, but I've had problems with my certain online accounts. I've had issues with people coming after me saying, hey, this isn't very diverse or whatever. I'm like, it's not supposed to. It's a story about X, Y, and Z, and that by nature should be diverse. And like, yeah, but you're not diverse with what you're doing. I'm like, I see how this is. And just recently, a lot of there was like the grants for black women and something, and Trump went in and shut all that down. And it's like, are you kidding me? Why would you do that? So
why would you shut it down, or why would you create that the grants for black women?
No. He came in and started shutting down the grants for black women. Like, why would you shut that down? And it's like, well, because you're supposed to be diverse, aren't you? And it's kind of like this finger wag back. It's like, here comes a stupid rule that bothers a bunch of people, so they're going to turn the rule around and use it against us. And I'm like, I don't need that.
Gotcha. So basically, you're against these mandates because they create backlashes that really prevent what's supposed to happen for creative, to create more inclusivity in the first place. So is that why you're kind of against these mandates? Because now, with the internet, the rise of internet and the internet bros, they get
Mhm.
wind of this stuff, and then they said, okay, we're going against it and show how discriminatory you are, so we can get the power back because you're restricting us and our rights.
What is tokenism for appearing in the dominant society's productions? What's tokenism for them and wanting to get crumbs off of that table is erasure, forced engineering, um, you know, uh, influence on our side. It's like I don't need people coming in trying to overly influence our Spike Lees, our Kuglers, our our Tyler Perry's. Even
Mm,
though I'm not necessarily down with a lot of what he does, we don't need that kind of pushback where it's like, hey guys, we're from
gotcha.
we're from the Oscars. We're gonna.
Okay, so you're saying basically creating these mandates creates a sense of tokenism. Hey, we're going to shoehorn someone in here, as opposed, and then that creates backlash against all of it, even though there's some true, genuine, great talent out there, like the Spike Lees, like the Kuglers, who are creating great art, and but they're getting the backlash from creating this more inclusive environment, or the facade of one, right, with these mandates, if you will. Is that kind of your argument?
Yeah, it becomes kind of a yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So I'll just leave it at that.
No, and I get that point. I mean,
Backlash
it
might not
does.
be the right backlash might not be the right word, but it's just you know where I not listen. I went to a very racially tense school in North Florida, South Georgia. Had plenty of issues. Um, Dude pulled a knife on me in the middle of school in front of the entire high school student body, and nobody said anything. It's just like, hey man, stuff like that happens. I'm like, what? You know, in high school. So I know the issues, but what I'm saying is this doesn't get pushed through unless there's a bit of a control scheme inflicted back upon us, baked into it, and that I don't like. I want my unapologetically black, whatever creators to do what they do.
No, I get it. I mean, but I don't think that should prevent us to try to make change. And sometimes the only way to make change is to force people to change. And we've seen that in history, right?
You sound like Anakin.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, the March on Washington.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
go back to civil rights movement, right? They had to get the attention. They wouldn't. LBJ would not have signed the Civil Rights Act of
Hmm.
1968 if it wasn't for, or 64, if it wasn't for the March on Washington and just having this big show of all that, right? And so in
Yeah.
protests, I don't think protests work as well as they did in 64, because I think people don't realize the attention game has moved from the
Yeah.
TV, and that's what got us to get to where we're point now. We have to think of a different way, and it can't just be Twitter or and all that anymore. So
Hmm.
there's got to be a new way to protest, and I think we're still trying to figure that out. But I mean, Mr. Benja, I mean, this kind of opens up another can of worms with this whole Snow White, fiasco. Me and my daughter went to go see Snow White this weekend. Mr. Benja, it wasn't as bad as they say it was. You probably heard
Okay.
all this ritual about it. That this is the most woke Snow White. Number one, the casting Rachel Zegler. So number one, she is not. I mean, what's her nationality? I think she is like Italian. Let me not say exactly what her nationality is, but she's just a controversial figure. If you don't know,
Hmm.
this young lady is out here very outspoken, and she's been like that for a while, right? And she talks about certain things and certain issues, and she's just very outspoken, right? And which I'm fine with. I think it's good to have character. She's from New Jersey. uh yeah, so she's from New Jersey. I'm trying to think, where is she based out of? So very outspoken. She faced racial discrimination on social media due to her mixed ethnicity. I don't know what her ethnicity is. I'm
I
sorry.
got you right there. She is a Colombian American actress born and raised in New Jersey. Her father is of Polish descent, while her mother is of Colombian descent.
Okay, so she's Colombian. Yeah, a little bit.
She identifies as a white Latina.
Okay, well there you go. So she, but she's got controversial views. She supported Palestine, which a lot of
Ooh,
folks on the right don't like.
ooh,
She's talked against Trump. She's
ooh.
did all kinds of crazy stuff out there. She criticized Donald Trump and supporters, claiming there's a deep, deep sickness in the United States and accusing Trump of threatening our democracy.
Ooh.
So, but it's so anyway. So there is a right wingers are going after her movies, and Snow White was just probably ground zero because number one is two things wrapped in one. Number one is her, and there's Disney. There is a concerted effort to go after Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially after some of the things that happened under Iger and Chapek, right, with
Yeah.
the Don't Say Gay movement. So anyway, make a long story short, this movie's got a lot of vitriol. Says terrible. So I'm gonna go watch it with my daughter. And man, I'm not saying it was the greatest movie, but it wasn't as bad as people say.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of the movie is Snow White has to find her voice to speak up against the tyranny in the movie. And so they changed it, they flipped the script. If you watch the original cartoon, right? She just like
Uh,
a princess, she gets kissed and after eating an apple and lives happily ever after. This one, they create a storyline where she has to realize that she doesn't have to wait for a man, quote unquote, to come and save her, but she can speak up and learn how to take control herself. And so I was like, wow. So I see exactly why she was cast because that's the
okay.
fiery kind of
Okay.
personality you need, and it works for the film. So
Okay.
it was
Okay.
like,
Okay.
wow, but it's like, so this is happening in real life and what she's speaking about. So to me, it was kind of a interesting
Hmm.
juxtaposition with what was happening in real world and what was happening with the movie. And I was like, oh, this is what's that. And so when I see all the vitriol, it does bring to mind that there is a concerted effort to try to tamper down voices. And I do feel like right now, the other side is kind of pushing back because they're getting some wins. But Mr. Benja, this is America, man. This is America, as Donald
Yeah.
Glover reminded us. There will be a snapback.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do see that coming. So do I agree with your statement on like mandating stuff? I would say this. I would say I think it's okay to mandate, and put some parameters in place. Um, I just don't want it to be a point where we don't try anything and give up because of what could happen, or the
Yeah.
opposite. I do feel like we need to make an effort and have courage to do something because eventually, any of this stuff will go away anyway. If we don't do anything, if we don't speak up. So I think I commend. I maybe on the other side of the woke quotient a little bit, where I'll say, yeah, let's mandate some of this stuff because they'll find loopholes against it anyway and find a ways around it. But I just say let's put some stakes in the ground because when it does come back around to the other side, a lot of people who make the right decisions. I mean, think about it. During their
Hmm.
lifetime, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were considered, the most dangerous men in America. So, say you're
Without a mandate.
yes. Well, that's
Ah.
true. That's true. That without a mandate, I would say this. There were things that were happening to make the mandate a reality, right? Oscar So White or George Floyd. The
Hmm.
people literally die, to even get the mandate started. There
Yeah.
you go.
So okay. Yeah. There, as I said, we could open up the whole can of worms on that. That will take us into a completely different episode. Let us know your thoughts because I wonder about what this does for entertainment and art. And entertainment and art has already changed in reference to it. It's kind of bizarre out there right now. There's a wave of literalism that's coming out in a lot of our art where it's, hey, I'm just saying this because I pulled a Tracy Chapman, looked out the window, saw something happen, and now I'm talking about it with no filter. I have my life, and this is it. That's my art, my life.
Well, and and just go back to the business side of it. Yeah, Snow White. I mean, the market speaking is already sub 50 million. I think the last of as we're recording is at 43 million, which is
Yeah.
much lower than live action Little Mermaid, which made 93 million its first weekend. And this is lower than even Dumbo, which came out several years ago, was universally panned.
The,
That movie, that live action Dumbo movie.
the way you said Dumbo.
Yeah, Dumbo. So, it doesn't look good, but you never know with these movies, man. Family movies have a long legs. I talked to my daughter, and then I'll leave it at this. I said, "What'd you think of this movie?" And she liked it. And I liked it
Yeah.
too. It was a very positive message for young girls. And so I think when you kind of put in, and if they're marketed right and if a good word of mouth, I could see this kind of doing that long leg thing where all of a sudden it made terrible, first weekend, but you have those weekends where it doesn't drop much because the word of mouth is gathering with
Yeah.
younger girls, and it'll be a moot point at this. So, Mr.
Yeah.
Benja, was there anything else that we wanted to cover today?
Nah, man. I'm just being woke, but not trying to go broke.
Yeah, man. So I think we did want to cover guys, look, like Mr. Benja said, if you got comments, come at us. We take the smoke. Please, let us know your thoughts. And we'll shout you out in comments like we usually do, because this is a conversation that needs to be had, especially in the quote unquote, nerd culture or pop culture, because I think these are relevant conversations. So, Mr. Benja, do you want to go over some trailers real quick?
Let's jump into some trailers. All right, this is trailer time. We have 2 trailers for you today. Maybe we'll get to both of them. Let's see. But first of all, we have Happy Gilmore 2. I didn't even know this was on the radar. And now I understand why Adam Sandler has been slowly popping up in the media here and there again. But one of the funniest movies I had ever seen was Happy Gilmore 1. And I never thought I'd be into a golf story, but here we are with this golf story. And now, after all these years, we get Happy Gilmore 2. I guess Adam needs a check, or it's one of those things you keep in your back pocket. Like, hey, whenever I need to make some money, I'll get on the phone and say Happy Gilmore 2 is coming. I don't know what you think, Theo.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, rest in peace, Carl Weathers played his golfing instructor in the first one. Hilarious. Him and the alligator. Go check it out. But yeah, man. We'll see. Netflix. And I try to, Netflix don't have a good track record with these sequels. Because then Prime come out with Coming to America too. One good. So these older stars going to streamers with a sequel to their most beloved movies doesn't seem really good. And then also saw Adam Sandler's stand up on Netflix. Wasn't good either. So cautiously optimistic. So you ready?
Random fact, they forced Eddie Murphy to put Louis Anderson in the movie so they'd have one white character coming to America. Just in case you missed that one.
Mandated. Got mandated.
They better mandate some Carl Weathers back up in here. CGI, I don't care. All right,
Word.
Here we go for the Happy Gilmore 2 trailer reaction. In 3, 2, 1, play.
Arnold, Jacko, Tiger, SpongeBob? What is that? What's with the beaver teeth? I haven't swung a club in years. I'm a little intimidated. All these guys hit it big now. I don't know where to start.
Come on, brother. Grip it and rip it.
I guess I need to update my happy place to something a little more age appropriate.
Mr. Gilmore?
Holy shit.
We're not done with golf. Let them see the happy I fell in love with.
Let's go.
We'll put a little extra into this one.
I am so sorry.
How are you feeling?
Uh, it seems like they got the Coming to America production crew and put it put it to Happy Gilmore too. Extremely safe. Just hey, let's run this Netflix thing. We'll get some people staying up late night to run some clicks. I don't expect anything major or boundary pushing in there. It's just like, hey man, let's give us that Happy Gilmore movie. Let's go.
Oh, the other reference would be last year. Remember, 4th of July, they dropped Beverly Hills Cop 4 on Netflix. I don't know if you
Right.
saw that. Yeah, so very safe. You're right. It was older star, safe movie, one of his biggest hits. It's just, I mean, but I ain't gonna lie. I laughed at one part, the old guy, with the nipples. That was hilarious. But I hope they have more of those. Then, like, I mean, but the last joke was just kind of lame to me. It's like, okay, fine. He blew a hole in it. Was that supposed to be super funny? I don't know. So,
You know what? Okay, here's what didn't pull me in, and I think all trailers should pull you in with a hook of some sort that, like, think of like a fish hook, where it gets in you. I don't know if any of you have ever been poked with a fish hook where it just gets stuck in you. Um, but something that actually makes you like, hold on a second. This isn't just nostalgia. I need to see this because blank. Like if you're talking about Coming to America, it's like, hey, what happened to Simi? Simi disappeared. It's like, oh, okay. That's interesting. I just want to know what happened to Simi. Happy Gilmore, it's like, I lost my golf swing. How do I get it back? Huh. He lost his golf swing. How does he get it back? There's just got to be some question you put in the viewer's mind. This is so safe. They're like, hey, we're not going to put any question in your mind. We're just going to give you Adam Sandler in some Timberlands on the golf course.
but you know what? Maybe Netflix doesn't have to. Because think about it.
And they know that.
I think that's what it is. They don't have to give you a hook because you don't have to go anywhere to go see it. You're not paying any extra money. It's just there. They just want you to stay on the platform till to July. Just say, hey, it's coming out in July. You already got it. Just wait. So don't cancel, Mr. Benja. Don't cancel the Netflix subscription yet.
I got
just
one
wait
piece.
for Happy Gilmore. Wait for Happy Gilmore. It's coming out soon. But you're right. That's a good point. That's probably why this is so safe. And they're probably doing it by algorithms. Seeing some simple jokes. But there's no hook where it's just like, because I agree, it could be something like, his son is trying to get into golf now, right? Or that he's got to play against his son. What's that's gonna be like, right? And his son is like, he's sad Gilmore or something like that, right? He's just a total different character. But yeah, I don't know.
Sad Gilmore. Theo, rock with it, man. Okay. I'm looking through the comments, and you're right. 10,000 comments on this movie from 5 days ago. And it's everybody saying, thank you for rescuing my favorite 70s movie. If he doesn't get angry and scream, this won't be a sequel. I guarantee he'll get angry at the ball and scream. This is my favorite type of movie. We don't get enough wholesome comedies anymore.
Wholesome?
Yeah.
This was not a wholesome movie when it came out, but okay.
Wow, this one should be a winner. I'm genuinely excited to relive some nostalgia. Apparently, they know what they're doing. And, me and my creative hater self, obviously, is a little too... maybe I just need to chill out because I'm looking at these comments and they're just like, hey man, Happy Gilmore, I'm happy.
It's nostalgia, man. That's all they, which is fine. I mean,
That's fine,
I'll watch it, but to their point, it's 30 years since this came out. I mean, Tiger Woods wasn't even a thing when this movie came out, remember? So it's been that long. So Tiger Woods was not a golfer 30 years ago when his first movie first came out. So
this is strange. Yeah, this is strange. It harkens back to our discussion about when you really niche down, you don't need to shake things up as much. Like if you're really trying to be safe, and this is where I give The Last Jedi credit, where it's like, hey, I'm not trying to be safe. I'm just trying to do something crazy and do it out the box. But you can also have an Arcane season 2 and alienate everybody.
All right. We got time for one more, or are we good?
Let's rock out the other one real quick, and we'll cut it if we don't.
All right. Let's go. What's up, Mr. Benja?
This is a trailer for the Minecraft movie. This is one of those movies where I have no idea what it's going to be about, what it could be styled for. I was walking through the grocery store and I saw an ad that had the live action Minecraft characters, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's weird. That's what it looks like in, you know, real life, 3-dimensional, totally CGI generated blocky characters. It's just a weird look." So I was intrigued, and I'm glad you selected this one for our trailer today because I was curious about it throughout the week. Know nothing about it. I've only messed with the game a little bit. I don't know, Theo, have you ever played this game?
With my son, just watching him
Mhm.
play in the background. That Gen Z generation, they love it.
Yeah.
That and Roblox, so it's just the way to play in the world. But yeah, it's been around for a while though, Mr. Benja. Right? I can remember being
Heck
around
yeah.
when we were in, not grad school, but I think came out when we were first started working, like in the early 2000s. So
Yeah.
I just, never really got into it, but yeah, we'll see.
I wonder if this is one of those things where it's been around for so long, they're like, if we do a movie, it'll make something.
Yeah.
It'll do some numbers just because it's been around so long with so many fans. Yeah, so I have no idea what they could be thinking of with this movie. So
The game renaissance is here. We talked about this with The Last of Us. We talked about this with Mario,
yep.
Super Mario. So yeah, I think this is where we at, Mr. Benja. So we'll see.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it. This is a Minecraft movie from Warner Brothers, the final trailer. And I haven't even seen the other ones. But either way, we're going to start this in 3, 2, 1, play.
Don't worry! I'm gonna cushion our fall with this water bucket! Release! In the overworld,
Whoa.
anything you can dream about, you can create.
So they built all this?
Yeah, most of it.
Hold up.
That thing doesn't understand a word you're saying.
We're talking.
Life here was perfect. Until one day, flint and steel, we came across the Nether. A place with no joy or creativity at all. You! What are you making? Oh! If they get their way, this beautiful world and everything in it will wither and die.
Biocon Dios. It means goodbye, brother.
No, it doesn't.
Don't look at her. It does.
If we want to save this world, creativity is key to survival. Now what? Elytra wingsuits.
Bye-bye. Those things work, right?
Absolutely. Coming in hot!
I got something for you.
I love Blue House. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
This place makes no sense. Let's do this.
They want me to fight the chicken?
Chicken jockey.
Oh no, not again. Oh my God, are you all right? Your head is huge.
Theo?
Uh-oh.
I've never wanted to get high like this in my entire life. Like, I just want to destroy my body with chemicals and stimulants, uppers, downers at the same time. Don't do drugs, kids. But this movie makes me want to.
Yes, good point. This is one of those movies because it's gonna throw so much at you because I mean the premise is you can create anything, right? And so they're just gonna throw stuff at you. I don't know if it's gonna be uh it's gonna make sense, but they'll put some story plot around it. But at least Mario Kart, we kind of already knew who the big bad was gonna be, Bowser,
Yeah.
right? We know what Last of Us, the zombies. It's like they kind of create a villain. I mean, I don't know if there's really villains in Minecraft, right? The villain is your laziness. I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
I don't want to build a house.
Well, they did show that big pig dude. I guess maybe that'll be him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not inherent to the game, though, right?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
it seems like it's like expansion. I created another world. Oh, this is an expansion pack to the game. So it's like, but yeah, sure. I mean, I'll be there because my son plays. I'm sure he wants to watch it, so we'll check it out. But you're right, Mr. Benja. This is one of those where it's time to. Yeah, I got 5 on it.
Yeah, this was like when I tried to take my dad to see The Wizard when I was young, the Nintendo movie The Wizard, and my dad was like, son, you enjoy that. I'll be back in an hour and a half. Just hang out in the lobby when the movie's over. I'll pick you up.
Yeah, I watch stuff with them because there's life lessons.
I was so happy that I was like, yeah, man, whatever, Dad. I don't need you getting my vibe down. I'm about to watch. It was me and my brother, and I think we had some other people with us, but my dad dipped out on that one. He was like, nah.
Oh, you were so hyped, man. I know. I've been there, man. I could care less. I'm going to watch this movie. Man, when he pulled out the glove, man, I almost pissed my pants. So, yeah. I'm sure my son will feel the same. I bet there's a lot of jokes in there that I don't get because I don't play. I don't know if you know some of those jokes.
Well, I mean,
my son may get them.
Some of them just, I mean, like instantly turning into a little steak when he got stabbed. That's comedy. Some of the fireball action and random stuff disappearing. Yeah, with Jack Black, I know there's going to be some weird offbeat humor in there, but
I mean, Peaches, can we? I mean, it had to be him, right? Come up with that whole premise. That became like a number one song, Peaches from Mario, Super Mario Brothers. So I think he'll come up with something that's hilarious. So yeah. I mean, he's just the movie guy. I guess he's just not the video game movie guy now. So not a bad gig if you can get it.
Yeah, he's a bona fide gamer and weird person, and I'm all for that.
Mr. Benja, man. So this has been great, man. I think we knocked it out. Everyone, Mr. Benja, anything going on for this week for you?
I am. It's coming up on the end of the first quarter, so I'm about to redo my steps a little bit, and man, I'm just moving, man. 10x is easier than 2x. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, speaking of which, you saw he's got a new thing called The Scale coming out. I don't know if you checked that out yet.
The Scale?
Yeah.
No, he disappeared and was talking about rapid development. Now he's talking about The Scale. All right.
Yeah. Go check it out. He got a new email that came out. But anyway, I digress. Well, yeah, Mr. Benja, I'm back. Vacation was vacation. Still did a little work. Kind of have to keep charge of things. But so now I'm fully back immersed. I'm gonna be traveling again, doing some stuff. But like you're right, man. This is we're about to get in Q2, brother. Overdrive now, so I'm trying to accelerate. But and try to get more healthier, trying to get some stuff going on second half. I'll be a big number at the end of this year, so I want to go ahead and get that going again. So that's my goals for Q2. But Mr. Benja, always a pleasure talking to you, man. So I know we'll catch up again soon. Everyone, hey, look, if you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, and comment at Show vs. Business on X, Threads, YouTube, Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about this and all the things that we're doing, go check out our website at Show vs. Business. Mr. Benja, have a great one.
Peace.